is Notsam Wrestling.
Introducing your host from New York, here is Sam Roberts.
I know that you guys have been waiting on this for a long time. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is on the podcast. You might know him as, depending on how long you've known him, maybe you knew him at one point as Long Island IZ. Maybe you knew him as an Edgehead. Maybe you knew him as a Major Brother. Maybe you just knew him as Zack Ryder. But today, he's known as Always Ready, Matt Cardona.
Sam, I don't know what proves that kayfabe is dead more. That The Undertaker does a tell-all on The Last Ride, or that I'll admit right now that all our beef, it's for show. It's for the podcast wars, that we actually do like each other.
Well, yeah, but the only hiccup here is that this had to be a non-figure related interview,
right?
Because if we start talking about figures, we will definitely because I think that neither of us really know whether it's real or fake once we start talking about figures, because we get like weird and defensive. So if we start talking about figures, we're gonna start fighting.
I think kayfabe is dead. It's been for a long time, but wrestling figure kayfabe lives.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And so this is not canon for the major wrestling figure podcast.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So we're not. Yeah, this is outside of that universe.
Right. This is not canon.
Completely. Like here,
doesn't matter.
Here, like Bill could walk in here bone dry, not sweating a drop, because it's not canon.
Who's Bill?
Exactly.
Exactly.
It doesn't exist
Exactly.
here. Yeah.
Bill Clinton?
I will say, though, and I need you to know this as a fact, and I need this to be on the record, that I technically did indeed join the Mattel Elite Squad while you guys were still a member. I joined the Elite Squad at the same time that you guys did your last thing, the WrestleMania reveals, I think.
But in my opinion, that doesn't count because we didn't get a vote. And not saying we would have voted yes or no, but
I see.
With the state of the world, the state of, Mattel, the toy business, we only two guys could do what we did. No script. Do it like, hey, we need to do this, cover everything. We're just going to put figures on screen and you guys can nail it. And we did.
Right.
But, the Elite Squad is in good hands with you and Johnny and Candace.
Yeah, my point
is what it is.
I feel like Johnny and Candace took your guys' spot and I took Kathy Kelly's spot.
Well, you actually do something for the show, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know about that.
I guess that's actually a good point.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it's interesting. It seems like your last WWE figure is going to be chronicling like the first big thing that you and Kurt Hawkins did in WWE, assuming it still comes out. And I'm talking about the Edgeheads.
Hey, don't put any bad karma out there. The figure gods, if you're listening, I do believe the Edgeheads, Edge with his interchangeable Edgeheads,
right?
Zack Ryder head, a Kurt Hawkins head, which by the way, Sam, was all my idea.
Was it really?
I've been pitching it for years.
Wow.
It finally slipped through the cracks. There was a lot of hiccups, a lot of, yes, it's happening. No, it's not happening. Like we saw pictures, then we heard it's canceled. It's coming, we think.
Okay.
So it is cool that our last figure will be kind of like our first big thing. There was never any Major Brother figures, but it's cool. I mean, did we get screwed? No Hawkins and Ryder, Elite, Mania Gear. Yes, but that's for a different podcast.
That's a different thing altogether.
Right?
That's when we get back into. That's when we get back into canon.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we're going too far out. So when you and Hawkins come in, right, and you guys are edge heads,
right?
In the beginning, I mean, you did the smart thing, which is eventually you stopped painting on all the edge tattoos. But in the beginning, you guys both painted on the complete replicas of the edge tattoos. Did you guys paint those on yourselves?
No. So essentially, what was supposed to happen was that it was supposed to be a one-night thing, and I guess there were supposed to be like stencils, but of course they weren't there.
I see.
So like the makeup ladies and a bunch of different people had to draw them on with Sharpies. So it was on, right?
Yeah.
So that was a Sunday, and then Mondays, Raw, but we're not on Raw because we're on SmackDown,
right.
And then they tape SmackDown Tuesday. So all Sunday, Monday, we're scrubbing it off because it's supposed to be a one-night thing,
right?
So we're trying to scrub off our arms for SmackDown, and of course we get there and we're like, oh no, you got to do it again. We're like, what? But luckily it was only a 2-night thing. the Edgeheads thing was so cool. One thing that people don't really know is that we were supposed to be like when we first switched our names all over from Brett Major, Brian Major to our real names.
Right.
Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins.
Right, of course.
There was a little miscommunication. We almost became I think Kiedis and Cobain were going to be our names with K's.
I love it.
Because Johnny Ace was like, yeah, we need something like Slash or Axel or something like that, like to go with Edge,
Right, of course. Well, who's going to be Kiedis and who's going to be Cobain?
I was going to be Cobain.
That's a better one.
Kiedis.
That's
and
a
then,
better one.
A couple hours before, it's like, no, real names, but not your real names. So we put together Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, and then we even got our own gear that we never wore. I think Hawkins ended up wearing it eventually, but I never wore it because the thing was we were going to be with Edge in that gear for like one night and then just be Edge's guys,
right?
But be our own characters. And the point in the beginning was not to be like little jabroni guys, which we ended up being just jabroni guys. But at the same time, it was awesome because the learning experience that we got, and plus we were doing nothing on TV one week,
right? Literally
nothing, to being with Edge. So, and wrestling Batista, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair,
right? Plus, it's one of those things that people remember too. Like that's the thing about Doink that everybody remembers, that there was another Doink under the ring. So the idea that Edge would be that next person that had another Edge hiding under the ring. I mean, it's not a bad spot to be in.
No, it was an excellent spot, and it was something that we had pitched. And Edge, we did not know him. Adam, we didn't know him really, just besides hello and goodbye.
Yeah,
he did not need us. He did not need to help these major brothers along, but he did. And I'm so thankful and grateful because I know for a fact we would have been fired early 2008 because they used to chop people all the time back then.
Right, right.
So he definitely saved our careers, and then obviously we ran with it. But if it wasn't for Edge saying, yeah, let's take a chance with these kids, because he was the world heavyweight champion, or was going to be.
Right.
Had been the champion before. Did he really need Brett and Brian Major? No. But he realized it was a great idea, and we all ran with it.
Were you guys wearing Edge's old tights, or did Edge just have 3 pairs of gear made up every time that he got gear made up, or how did that work?
Oh, I think for the first night, it's all new gear, but it all is to fit Edge. So like it's like black with a silver star, so it's a little too baggy and big for me. It looks like Jerry Lynn tights on me.
Yeah, like that crushed plasticky looking thing because you can see the wrinkles.
Yes, and then we only got, I think, 2 more pairs of tights that we got to fit us. And I don't even think they matched Edge. Like they were to complement, but they weren't the same ones he was wearing,
Right, because the idea wasn't supposed to be you were just pretending to be Edge. The idea was supposed to be that you were different people.
Right.
That just were friends with Edge.
Right. But it got lost in translation, and we eventually just became the Edge Heads, or as Shawn Michaels called us on Raw once, the Edge Guys. We were setting up this big, I think it's like a 6-man tag, or it turns into like a handicap match with Flair and Shawn Michaels for SmackDown, and this is our big moment. Shawn is like, accepting the challenge or laying out the challenge, and on live TV he's like, and those Edge guys, and like the whole locker room pops, and me and Hawkins are like, no, like we're losers, we're officially losers.
In one moment, because you're like in your 20s at that point. So one moment you're like, this is so cool, Shawn Michaels is talking about us and we're about to be on TV, and then but it's as the Edge guys.
Because you didn't know our names, and that's not just Shawn Michaels, that's everybody back there. I say everybody, the majority of the people just knew we're the Majors or the Edge Heads, or like, I'd be in the hallway and like someone would say, what's up, guys? But it would just be like me. I'm like, what guys? Like, nobody knew who we were, which is fine. I get it. And what really was challenging for us is when Edge got injured and the Edge Heads were no more.
Right.
And we were just the guys that looked like Edge. And like, okay, we switched up our gear. We're Hawkins Ryder, but nobody cared. Nobody had anything invested in us.
Right. Because who is? That's what I was thinking. Like, who is at that point Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder? They don't. There is you guys aren't anybody because you've just been sitting there being like, well, we're like Edge, except we're like the Edge guys.
So we were at that time the tag team champions.
Right.
Didn't matter.
No.
We were at different gear. Didn't matter. We still. It wasn't until it was the draft of that year where we split, where we finally got the opportunity, because we had been pitched. First of all, we were supposed to be split up like instantly, and then it never happened. So we just kept getting brought to TV and like losing to Great Khali in handicap matches. We're losing to Finley and Hornswoggle. But nothing was getting done. And we had been, we actually just put it up on YouTube, this pitch that we had sent in that we gave to the writers, where I was still the woo guy, but Hawkins was like, you know, like the straight man to it, you know, like he'd be like, oh God, you know, like, look at this idiot. And I'd like ruin things for him by being so goofy. And that was the dynamic that I think we kind of have in real life.
Yeah.
But you hear that volume raised up. The volume was raised up a ton for that. And that was what we were trying to pitch. And then eventually, I mean, it all worked out for me because I became it by myself.
Right. Yeah. You just did that, and you're like, why'd you do that without you? I don't need a straight man. I'll just do it.
Well, no, that wasn't my decision. I got drafted to ECW.
Right.
And then and they wanted to run with that. And like, okay, can I cut my hair? That's what I want. I'm like, I cut my hair. I had this idea. Can I wear the one-legged tights? I just wanted to be as different as I could from that look.
Yeah. You were a completely different person. Now you're actually a person. Like, this is a personality. This is something. When I see him, I know who he is. Not just, oh, that's that guy that used to be with Edge.
Right. So whether they knew my name or not, they knew, oh, that's the woo guy. That's the guy who wears the one-legged tights. The Edgehead thing was out of their mind.
Right. But the one, I think probably the best part about the Edgehead thing was WrestleMania 24, right? Getting to do that run-in.
100%.
Yeah, for the Undertaker match. Is that one of those things where, are you just so pumped that you're about, like, we're just going to be involved in this match? Or are you nervous that you're like, oh my God, this is the main event and it's the Undertaker match and that's Undertaker. And if we screw anything up, like, I don't want to piss him off.
Undertaker was super cool during this whole experience. Like I worked him on SmackDown one-on-one. I remember he was asking me like what I wanted to do. And then afterwards sat me down and said, okay, we need to work on this, or this was good, this wasn't good. So he was always super cool when he didn't need to be. He's the Undertaker, right?
Right.
To be in that situation, to run out and be involved in the main event. I remember sitting in the rehearsals for that match and like, oh my God, we're like getting this learning experience that people would only dream of behind the scenes of a WrestleMania main event, and we're going to be involved. The only thing I was really nervous about was that we'd get like crucified or like sacrificed the week before and miss WrestleMania, you know?
Yeah.
Put in a casket and then back to OVW, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
But luckily that didn't happen, and we got to do the little run-in and the main event run-in, which was great. There's like a photo, like this fan captured photo of us helping Edge to the back. And it's such a cool photo, like a bird's eye view of all of us, like while the pyro's going off and stuff like that. And we were just so young then that we're like, okay, this is just the next step in our career. Maybe next year at WrestleMania, we'll wrestle in a triple threat match. Me, Hawkins, and Edge, you know?
Yeah.
Little did we know we'd be in Lumberjacks in the pre-show.
Right.
That's how business works, right?
That's exactly how the business works. Yeah. This is how the business works. That, like, you've got two legends like The Undertaker and Edge. And The Undertaker's photo from WrestleMania is him with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and they're together. And Edge's photo from WrestleMania is you and Hawkins and him at like 22 years old going like, all right, well, I guess this is the three that I get.
Well, I mean, to me, it's just as important.
For you, it is. Yeah, for you, it's a great photo for you. It's a great photo for Hawkins.
I think Adam liked it too.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. So when you go over to ECW and you become Long Island IZ and you start to take off, like that character, I feel like I got it because I'm around the same age as you and I'm from the East Coast. So I immediately knew exactly who that guy was. But it's also one of those things that I look back on and go, I wonder if like the people who go like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea, go do that on television. Like, did you have to explain to them what?
Here's the problem. There were a couple writers who got it.
Yeah.
They're these guys. They understood it. What essentially was going on is that I was going out. I was, 22, maybe 23 at the time, going out to clubs, to bars on Long Island, New York City, and seeing all these idiots. And I hated them. I said, this is what I need to be.
Yeah.
Just the spiky hair, the sunglasses inside, headbands, pop collars. Like, I need to be this.
Yeah.
And it took a long time. I was doing it on TV, I think, for people to really catch on to what it was. And then eventually Jersey Shore came out. And then people were like, oh, Zack Ryder ripped off Jersey Shore. I'm like, I came first. What are you talking about? I came first.
Yeah.
But ECW was such a great time for me because, big fish, small pond, whatever. That's what I needed at that time. It was an hour show, and it was for guys. It was like the Island of Misfit Toys. And I was thrown there, and whether I got promo time or backstage vignettes or getting to work Christian, it really helped my confidence and also helped me in the ring, because before that, I had maybe like 3 singles matches my entire career.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was always a tag team guy with Hawkins, so I needed that. So just adjusting to a single style is totally different. And to get to work with guys like Christian and Regal and Tommy Dreamer, great learning experience.
Where'd the one-legged tights come from?
So, like I said, I knew I wanted to be completely different,
right.
with the hair and the headband. And I remember this guy in Deep South Wrestling, this guy Crew Jones.
Uh-huh.
He wore one-legged tights, and I thought it was so obnoxious. I'm like, this fits.
Yeah.
And I remember at first the writers wanted me to wear jeans. I was like, oh no, like jeans and like a dress shirt. I'm like, because then you take the dress shirt off. What am I gonna? It looks like I'm like Jimmy Wang Yang.
Right. Right.
So they were like, go pitch it to Vince. And like, I remember like Vince was doing like rehearsals, like leading rehearsal at the ring, and I had it on. I'm like, Vince, it's okay. And he like brushed me off, and I said he loved it. Yeah. And that's it. I mean, sometimes that's what you got to do.
Yeah, no, I think of course that's what you have to do. Because if you also know, right, that when you're pitching that to Vince McMahon, like there's no reason for you to think like, oh, he's going to totally get this. One-legged tights, Long Island, like Guido club kid, like that's right up Vince's alley. He's going to know exactly what I'm going for. Like,
he said, yeah, it's good, or whatever he said. It was something like, just brush. He was busy. He was running rehearsals for ECW SmackDown. But hey, it all worked out. I got to wear it. Very toyetic, as they say in the biz.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you think to yourself, because I mean, that's that Zack Ryder action figure is still very, very valuable. Did you think to yourself, like, they're going to want to make a figure out of the one guy who wears the one-legged tights and all bright colors? And
I'm always thinking figures. Always. Oh, you have to.
You have to. You have
That's right.
to. Yeah. And some people think figures just for the money of it, but you're thinking figures because you're like, no, I need more Zack Ryders on the shelf.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
In my collection.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Do you collect the Hawkins figures too? I think my favorite, like, Ruthless Aggression era Hawkins figure is the one where they actually made him wearing the hoodie that says Hawkins across the front.
Well, I'm in a 2-pack with him, so I have to count it.
Right. Yeah, no, that does make sense.
By default, I have to get it.
Yeah, yeah. ECW is also, of course, where you got to go one-on-one with Rapid Delivery. That's of course, you've talked about it on your podcast like 1,000 times, but that's the tights ripping incident. But were you excited, like just as like a wrestling fan? Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Rapid Delivery, Roy Fox, and MTV True Life. I was so excited. So he's the enhancement talent for the night. It's supposed to be me, going over strong. I give him a couple shots,
Right.
give him a little
He's Rapid Delivery. Yeah.
Yeah. And I give pull the trunks, pull him into the turnbuckle.
Uh-huh.
His trunks were made of dust. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So usually when you have trunks, they're sewn at the sides, the seam are on the sides.
Yeah.
His were sewn at the crotch, like connecting the front and the back.
Yeah.
As I pull, whole thing explodes. I have no idea what's going on, right? So he's in the corner now, covering up. I don't think anything of it.
Of course not.
Right?
Yeah.
Give him the boot in the corner.
Uh-huh.
At the time, that wasn't one of my big signatures, so I couldn't pull him out for the cover yet. What I would do was I'd give him the old slingshot.
The worst move you could take with no tights on, by the way.
And when I had it hooked and I looked down, I realized what's going on.
Right. You saw Rapid Delivery.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I give him the slingshot, and then I'm thinking, well, it's a get over match. I can't beat him with a slingshot. So I have to give him the Zack attack, of course, which is some weird. He's bent over, knee in the neck, grab the arm, neck breaker. If you find photos online, he's covered up the whole time. I hit him with it 1, 2, 3. Luckily, this was like live to tape.
Right.
So they had a couple hours to adjust it. Where if you watch it back, you just see like my chest up, the last half of the match.
Is he pissed? Because I mean, like, I'd be pissed even if I believed you that you didn't do it on purpose. I'm like, okay, accidents happen, but why did he keep going that long? Like, because he wanted to make sure that everything worked. Like, I had no tights on. Why couldn't?
What was he gonna do? What was he gonna do?
He probably, from his perspective, he's probably thinking like, I understand you normally wouldn't, but just pin me with the slingshot. You figured it out. What the problem is?
So I got to the back, and I was so nervous. Like, am I going to get in trouble? But the whole gorilla position was laughing. Everyone was laughing. They kept replaying it over and over from all these angles. His little dick flopping, And he was angry at me. He told me I was pulling his tights too hard. But, dude, first of all, he didn't have any undertrunks on. His tights were made of dust.
Yeah.
The seat was underneath. And for years, he thought, like, I had been, like, convinced to do it. Like, you can't rip someone's tights on purpose.
Right. Yeah. Like you can't sit there and go like, okay, here's the plan. We'll rip his tights off his body. Like, tights don't rip apart. You're supposed to wrestle in them. They're supposed to be strong.
So now we're buddies, and then this is obviously, since it's not canon, we do stuff on the Major Wrestling podcast where he has pulled my pants down.
Right.
He's hit me with my title. So there's big beef, big war, but that's the podcast. We're not talking about the podcast right now.
That's canon.
That's right.
Was there a part of you when you're sitting there, right, and Rapid Delivery Rory Fox is yelling at you because you've embarrassed him so much? Are you just sitting there thinking like, oh my God, look, the guy from MTV is mad at me now. That's so funny. At
that point, I just felt bad for him because I knew I wasn't in trouble.
Right.
I just felt bad for him. Like, oh man, I hope they call him back. And I don't think they ever did.
Yeah. And too, you're like, I know this guy had a dream to be a superstar because I watched it on MTV. Right. I saw it.
It all worked out. He got his revenge like 10 years later at the live Major Wrestling Favorite Podcast 4.
Right. Of course.
My title. Not part of the script. He took the title, went downstairs, and got naked and did the Shawn Michaels Playgirl pose with the title. That was not part of the script. That was definitely not in canon. I'm doing the show the whole time. I don't know what's going on. It's not until later I find out.
Right.
After doing the photo ops, posing with the title.
I don't know what it is about you. Every time you make a title, somebody has to do that naked Shawn Michaels pose with it.
Well, it is what it is. It's an infamous pose, and I make titles famous. What can I say?
Yeah, you do. You really, really do. So what would you say is the best, other than that, obviously, the best single kind of moment from your ECW run?
I think Wrestling Christian.
Yeah.
Or retiring Tommy Dreamer, who's still fucking wrestling.
Yeah. I was there for that show, and he stood at the ramp, and his family was there, and he said goodbye, and then he's wrestling now more than anybody in the business. Yeah.
But it was cool that he trusted me to do that, and Wrestling Christian was super cool because I went from not really having any singles matches to Wrestling Christian. The guy who, I think one of the most underrated performers of all time, and one of my favorites.
Yeah.
One of my favorites of all time. So that was really, really cool to wrestle Christian.
So how do you, when you're that young, right, you're still in your, mid-20s, not even your late 20s yet. You're in, your mid-20s. You've now had a WrestleMania experience, let's call it. You've had a sit-down conversation with Undertaker about what you're doing wrong, what you're doing right. You've wrestled guys like Christian and Regal. Is there any of the kind of too much too soon, what do I do now stuff going on in your head at that point?
I don't think so, because I don't ever think we got, too much, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we were, if we, won the tag team titles right away or something, but we were with Edge, and it was a slow process. It might seem like it was fast because one night we're doing nothing, then we're the Edge heads, but it's a slow build of you're on the outside, literally on these live events. Whether we're working like Finley and Jamie Noble early in the show or Jesse and Festus, we're learning that way, and then we're outside the ring watching these main event matches, watching Edge, who I think the best in the world. At that time, I definitely at that time, and we're sitting there better than a front row seat,
Right.
I mean, that learning experience was so invaluable. People watch tape and they watch old footage and they study that way. I was standing there looking up, watching, Edge versus The Undertaker, Edge versus Batista, crazy stuff.
Yeah. So that's where I guess you take character building to another level, because obviously you're like, okay, I think this Long Island IC character is clicking. This works. People get it. It's unique. Although, when Robbie E showed up on TNA, were you like, dude, what are you doing?
Are you trying to get me hot, Sam? Robbie E, as I like to call him, Robbie Free.
Yeah.
So I've known Rob for a long time. I like Rob. So anything I say now, let me just say I'm just busting his balls.
Of course.
I don't completely mean what I'm about to say, even though I do mean it a little bit.
Right.
So Rob and I, we knew each other from like, I say the New York indie scene, but really he'd come in and work NYWC while I was like setting up the chairs, maybe up the card. So I knew of him more than he knew of me.
Right.
But we were Facebook friends and stuff like that. And I had made it to WWE, very fortunate to make it so early. And he had sent me this Facebook direct message, basically saying, first of all, it was definitely like a mass message, but he would just change the first name like, "Hey Matt,"
Yeah.
or
Yes.
"Hey Sam."
Yeah, I've gotten the messages. Yeah.
It was his demo tape, demo link,
Mm-hmm.
asking if I had any contacts for Japan or Puerto Rico. And I'm like, Rob, you've been around so much longer than me. I have nothing. Sorry, dude. Right? Something like that.
Yeah.
A couple months go by. He has unfriended me on Facebook. And then it was my gimmick in TNA. We don't talk for like a decade.
Right.
A decade.
Wow.
Right. Unbelievable.
And then he shows up and he's your wife's manager or your fiance's manager. And
Even better. But we buried the hatchet a couple of years before that.
Good.
But right.
Good. Well,
But look, there was never any real heat. We just joke around.
yeah, of course.
We're just on these all clickbait Instagram pages, big heat between Robert Stone and the former Zack Ryder.
Yeah. I've been there many times. I've read many times on the internet how I'm very, very poorly received by everybody. Yeah, it's not good for me right now. So that's like around when you start, obviously, the Z True Long Island story, which is like kind of your breakout thing. Was this because, had ECW gone away at that point?
So that's what happened. ECW turned into NXT.
Right. The NXT, by the way, the NXT like reality weird show, not the NXT that we know now.
Right. And I had moved to Raw, which in theory is great. Oh, you're moving to Raw. It was not great. It was not great at all.
Right.
Because now, like I was on every once in a while, getting hit by the big jackass hand or something like that. But wasn't doing anything really, still trying, still busting my ass, luckily still on the live events every once in a while, still working.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of my favorite matches were happening against like, Evan Bourne and stuff on live events, opening the shows in these live events. But it was around, so I guess it's early 2011. I say like, all right, I see that this isn't changing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pitching stuff, whatever. It's not happening. I'm like, I got to do something for myself. I've told the story a million times, so I'm sorry if this is repetitive. But I wanted to create some buzz, whether by getting fired or, making so much of a commotion, so much noise that the WWE had to do something to me. Luckily, I didn't get fired.
Right
at the time. But I thought, okay, if I get fired for the stuff I'm doing, I'll have some buzz for the indies, for TNA,
Yeah.
But of course, my end goal is to get noticed by WWE.
Yeah.
I'm over there.
Yeah.
So that's when I started the YouTube show with no big major plan of what it would be. Listen, I wasn't the first person to have a YouTube show. Wasn't the first person to have a web show or be on the internet. I think I was the first person to really prove that you can use those platforms to help your wrestling quote unquote character.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think at that time I was still one of the younger guys on the roster. So to me, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram wasn't even around yet, but those things were things I was using as the real person, Matt Cardona.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
So I knew how to do everything. So why don't I just do it as Zack Ryder?
Yeah.
And let the people in. Like wrestling is so odd where you can like be in this heated storyline and post this post about your opponent that you're wrestling next week, and your next tweet could be you and your dog.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's now, but at the time people were just using it just wrestling because even WWE tried to start their own thing called like the WWE Universe.
Mm-hmm. Like their own platform. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which like, listen, I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but like if you go back, I would ask the guys, the Rise of ECW, hey, there's these status updates on the WWE Universe. Can we put those on screen as I'm walking out? Like I think there's one on ECW like Zack Ryder can't wait for the new Backstreet Boys album or something like that.
Yeah.
And like what, 5-10 years later, there's tweets all over the screen.
Yeah.
Right. Not saying I invented that because it was going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
It was going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
right? So I was just one of the first people, if not the first, who realized like, hey, this stuff is important and can work.
I mean, you also like were early to being like a mainstream guy that was incorporating like internet lingo and wrestling jargon and stuff. The way you were making jokes about pushing and I'm not getting over and all that sort of stuff that you wouldn't hear mainstream wrestlers, like you wouldn't hear mainstream wrestlers use those words publicly.
Right, but I was also doing it in like a funny way, making fun of myself. I wasn't like, I'm not getting pushed.
Right.
Why me?
Yeah.
No, I had this big meathead push me, and I get in this face like, nobody pushes Zack Ryder. No, or I'd be climbing a fence, and somebody would be like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just trying to get over. So I made it fun.
Right.
I wasn't like complaining or being bitter, because if I was doing that, the show wouldn't have taken off. Nobody wants to hear that.
No. People want a fun show. Right. So I think that goes along with kind of introducing the gimmick as a whole. When you're that early to the game, now when you see wrestlers going around and like vlogging or doing whatever, it's pretty commonplace, and you get what they're doing and you get why it's cool and why it's like, yeah, it's a good idea. Everybody should be doing it. Back then, did a lot of the guys, especially the guys that weren't your age, the guys that are older than you, did they understand in the beginning what you were doing at all or why you were doing it?
I don't think so. And I think there are a lot of people who didn't understand it but still supported me. Like, I'll never forget Arn Anderson. I remember laying on a couch like backstage in Mexico, and he's got my laptop on his belly, and he's watching the show, and he doesn't get what's going on, but he knows that I'm putting in the work.
Right.
He knows I'm trying to do something, and that's what he appreciated.
Right.
Right. He wasn't getting the jokes or he didn't know what I was doing, but he knew I was doing something. And I think that's why he, helped me out a lot, because he knew, hey, this kid wants it,
Yeah. And I think that it probably helped. That's one of you doing it in character probably made that go even further, because you're not just, like you said, on the internet complaining or doing some like separate thing. You're actually using the internet to try to get your character over that's on TV and further the business that you're all doing.
Oh, yeah. Like, I wasn't on TV really, like I said, a couple times here and there, but I was, doing things like plugging all this merch. Like, at first it was this T-shirt. Hey, if you bought my T-shirt, I'll send you a signed card. And I actually did it.
Right.
And then that shirt sold well. Let's make him another shirt. Let's make him a headband. And then I plug all this stuff on my YouTube show, and I'd have like the broski of the week. Everybody, dress up as me, buy my merch, do a video. I'll put it on the show. Or like I hired some guy. I used the term hired. I didn't pay him, but he would sit there and watch Raw and SmackDown. And anytime there was a Zack Ryder sign, he would screenshot it, send it to me, and then I put it in the show as like the signs of the week. So that would entice people. Hey, if I bring a sign, Zack Ryder will put me on the show.
Right.
And so they were supporting me, and I was giving back and saying thank you. That was my way to include them on the show. Hey, if the Headbangers had a show and my sign was on it, that would have made my life.
Right. Especially if they're mentioning you by name, or they're going like, this guy's cool. You're like, oh my God, that's me. They're talking about me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or I had like the "Are you serious, bro?" tweet of the week.
Right.
Where the hashtag "Are you serious, bro?" and then like I would search by the hashtag, pick the best one, and I'd read it every week on the show.
Right. Right.
Just stuff that that's so common nowadays. And I'm not saying I invented it. I obviously didn't, but I was, I knew it could help me get from nowhere to somewhere, and it did.
You were an early adopter, that's for sure.
That's the best way to put it.
Yeah. What was the connection with Cena? I always felt like Cena seemed like he was into what you were doing early. Like, I feel like there's a lot of like John Cena's, I don't know if it's his sense of humor or just kind of when you look at his Instagram, like the weirdness and the kind of comedy that he's into. I think there's still a lot that a lot of people don't, like, you don't see that side of him very much, but it seemed like from the beginning, like even like when you first got to Raw, it seemed like he was kind of into this weird Long Island gimmick that you were doing.
I do think it's definitely because of the show. And I think I think he understood it a bit more than someone like Arn.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But he also, like Arn, said, hey, this kid wants it. This kid's trying. This kid's, busting his balls. Like, hey, like, okay, the video's like 3 minutes. It would take me my whole week off to do it. Or however days I had off to do that show. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
I would, film. I'd schedule, okay, hey, Dad, we're going to shoot this day. Hey, all my buddies, we're going to shoot this way. Or I get some of the guys on the road, and I put it together. It would take me forever.
Right.
It was like a 3-minute video where if you watch it, the quality, like the audio video quality sucks. but like the content was pretty damn good. And I think that he saw, hey, this kid's trying. And I think that's what he appreciated. And listen, he helped me out big time by, back in the day, like by a retweet from him or guys like CM Punk, who were like the top guys retweeting my stuff. It was a big deal.
Right. Or they would both. I mean, both those guys would just kind of figure in little spots to mention you on TV or whatever. Like when they'd be mentioning groups of guys, it'd be like, or Zack Ryder, and you'd hear everybody, but you'd be like, oh, like those guys, they're not putting him on TV, but these main event guys are mentioning him.
Right.
Yeah. You know what? Speaking of being toyetic, you know what always bugged me? That they never did a figure that had a little flip cam.
I know.
Because I figure, like, especially when you started walking down the aisle with the flip cam, like, and it was such a moment too. Like the flip cam, it's so funny because it just had like this 2-year run where it was like that was the camera
thing. And now I look back, I'm like, how did I even film on this thing? It's not like you can't do a front facing camera. You didn't know what you were filming.
It's
you know
garbage.
What I'm saying? Like,
it's garbage.
What was that? I would come out blind, really, like coming down the aisle holding it up. Who knows what I'm filming? You know?
Yeah.
It is in one of the video games though, so I'm proud of that.
Yeah. I like that. So that kind of takes you on this ride. Like 2011, 2011 was amazing because that's when the show starts taking off. That's when they put you on TV. So Survivor Series 2011, that's Madison Square Garden. That's The Rock and John Cena versus Miz and R-Truth. That's The Rock doing his promo after the show. And that's when everybody starts chanting, "We want Ryder," in the middle of Rock's promo. Now, is this one of these moments where you're going, oh my God, this is great and everything's working? Or is there a part of you going like, oh, I hope this isn't too much? Like, I don't need The Rock being like.
I thought it was great.
You loved it. Every bit of it.
Loved it. It was the best.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was the best.
Yeah.
Love that night. Super, memorable night for me. They were just so loud. The people in MSG, a building that I would go to so many times as a kid, and to have them, the world's most famous arena, sure, but my hometown, my people, to go so crazy, like interrupting The Rock is really, really cool. But I remember before the show even started, just the chants, and I think we were like the Ziggler and Morrison for the first match on the show, and I was running out for that, so like I'm already geared up, ready to roll, and I was just, oh my God, I was like. Oh, it was all worth it for like those moments, like all that whole year. It's like, all right, it worked. Like that hard work. Like I knew I was right,
Yes.
It was good, like self-satisfaction.
Yeah. That has to change your perspective on things. Because when stuff like that is happening, it's when you're just on somebody else's TV show, because at the end of the day, you're at the mercy of, the people who are scripting the TV show. It's like, if you don't have that response from the audience because you're not on TV, I know for me, I'd be sitting there wondering, like, oh, am I as good as I think I am? Like, I'm not really getting response because I'm not getting to do stuff. I hope I'm as good as I think I am. And when you start doing that stuff on your own that gets the response, I feel like it's got to give you this confidence that you're like, you know what? Regardless of what's happening, I can be confident in my own ability. Because when I'm left to my own devices, I make it work.
Yeah. And at that time, I was still super young, like 25, 26.
Yeah. So
there are a lot, like people ask me, and we'll probably get into it in a second, but there are some things where I'm like, oh my God, I had some balls. Like I remember at one point, WWE is like, hey, obviously I'm doing this as Zack Ryder. WWE owns the show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'm still doing it on my YouTube channel. I never like monetized the channel because I never wanted them to say, you're making money off us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there'd be so many times like the show would get taken down for copyright stuff. And I have to email whoever's in charge, like, hey, I work for WWE.
Yeah, because you'd be using footage of yourself, but it was WWE's footage, and they would just have one of those bots taking everything down.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they wanted me to move it to the WWE YouTube channel. I was like, guys, this WWE YouTube. I'm sorry, there wasn't even WWE YouTube channel yet. WWE.com. Like, guys, nobody goes to WWE.com. It's not cool. I'm not moving the show to WWE.com. I don't know how I had the balls to say no to it then.
Yeah. I mean, does that kind of give you when it's working as well as it's working, and there are people that doubted it?
Right.
Does that give you, and you're only 25, 26 years old, does that give you an ego where it's like?
No, I would say it's an ego, but like you said, a little bit of confidence.
Right. Maybe a chip on your shoulder.
I wouldn't actually even say a chip on my shoulder, just like, hey, like it's working, just let me do my thing.
Right.
Kind of,
Yeah.
Like I'm not doing anything wrong here. I'm helping. I'm trying to help everybody. I'm a, one of the top merch sellers. Trust me, WWE's getting more of that money than I am. You know what I'm saying? So let's just keep going here, baby.
Yeah, yeah. Now, did you were you involved in the merch process? I know that now it's like one of your main jobs, especially since there's no wrestling, is designing new merch constantly. I heard you make a pitch for Major Wrestling Figure Podcast War Bonnets, and I know that you were being serious. I know you're
serious.
By the way, because they're so ridiculous, know if they're limited, they'll be NWO sold out.
100%. So luckily at that time, since my merch was selling, that I did have a lot of say in what was made in designs. The first ever the shirt that it's like my headband, my glasses, my spiky hair.
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be my first official shirt.
Yeah.
And they sent me something with like pumas or like a teddy bear or maybe it was a tiger. I was like, what is this? I'm like, no, because if this sucks and fails, this will be my chance. I'm like, no way. Because at the time, the only shirt I had was that one I was telling you about where I'd sit the cards. It was like, I think it was called like a basic shirt. It's just me like this.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
So I'm like, I'd rather have that basic shirt than any of this crap.
Yeah.
And eventually I convinced them. And then once that sold and the headbands were selling, then I'm like, hey, let's make foam fists. Or hey, I got this idea, the Statue of Liberty with the foam fist. And guess what? They're holding the internet title.
Right.
Which was cool because I was not allowed to wear that on television.
Yeah. How did you get that one passed? I'm surprised. Like, I'm so shocked because it's you made it. So it's your IP at the end of the day. The fact that made it into action figure form, into a video game, and onto a shirt, like, makes no sense to me.
So, at first it was a joke, and I had my little brother's kid Intercontinental title, and I put stickers on it, and I drew on it, and it was like the internet title. I even wore it out to a show in Australia once. I defended the title against Primo. There's photos out there. I'm wearing this kid's Intercontinental title out there. Mike Rotunda, the IRS, he was the producer. He didn't like that too much.
No.
But that's another time of me like, what was I doing? How did I just walk out like that?
You're walking out with a toy belt around your waist. You haven't even asked anybody. You're like, no, you don't understand, Mike. My YouTube show, I wear it. Oh, cool. Thanks.
Mike was super cool. He just said like, never do that again.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you weren't fired on the spot means that Mike was super cool.
Right.
Yeah.
So eventually I'm like, hey, I need to make a real title, which I don't know if you can see it back there.
Oh, I can see it.
That's right. So I, listen, was I really the champion of the internet? No, it was a gimmick. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah.
It's a gimmick. So I brought it to TV because I'd have it with me anyway for my YouTube shows. If I ever needed to film something or, if Ziggler needed to beat me up, I always had it with me.
So is there any part of you, right? Because I know that you're a pretty confident person and somewhat shameless. Is there any part of you that is going like, these guys are going to think I'm the biggest mark if I show up to TV with my own title that I made for myself?
At that time, yes. And let me tell you this story. So I wear it out to, this is like ringside as earlier in the day.
You're wearing
I'm going to leave out names here.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
But I wear the title out. Because, look, first of all, I don't like do my entrance. I'm not like posing. I just have it around my waist because I want to show what it is. Like, listen, this is like
I know, but still, like, even like it's not like people don't walk around in their gear. People aren't walking around with their titles on.
At that time, it was like people were like rooting for me in the back.
So you were trying to give them every reason to stop. You're like, he's the guy.
No. Like I think the boys were cool with it.
Okay.
Was what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
If I would have walked out the internet title in 2007 with like Hardcore Holly and JBL, different story, maybe.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
But
so now
these guys are my buddies now.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. This is that era that like all the guys that came in around the same time as you are starting to go up the card, and there's more of you guys. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I present it to somebody to kind of show it off.
Right.
Not saying, all right, I'm told that I'm such a mark for myself.
Right.
Am I? I don't know. But that's not the point.
I mean, we're literally having a conversation right now where you're wearing a T-shirt of your own podcast. You're wearing your own hat. I've seen you.
Promotion.
You go to the gym. You go to the gym with weight belts with your podcast logo on it. I mean, I got like a Notsam thing in the back, but like you don't see me walking around all the time.
It's called promotions.
No, you're right.
Okay.
You're right.
Anyway, so I say, listen, I don't think I'm really the champion of the internet. You know, it's like the $1 Million title, you know, the $1 Million Man.
Yeah, but Ted DiBiase wasn't like walking around the locker room like, hey guys, check out my title.
You don't understand what I'm saying. I'm wearing this to present it. I'm not wearing it around.
Right.
Wearing it to go and present it.
Also, Ted DiBiase didn't make it himself, but go on.
Well, I think it's showing initiative.
I think it's great. I mean, I love, I like it. I'm just saying.
To me, I see. I'm a big kid. I see, Mattel making it.
Yes.
I see the foam belts, the replica belts, the T-shirts. I see all that.
Dude, as a figure collector, do you know how excited I was when they said there's a Zack Ryder Elite? You had one Zack Ryder Elite that has the one-legged tights and the shirt. I'm like, that's so cool. When they announced there's another Zack Ryder Elite, headband, sunglasses.
I have to give Mattel permission for that. I'm gonna give permission. Anyway.
Okay, so you're at ringside. Somebody says you're a mark for yourself.
I say no. I don't really think I'm the internet champion. It's kind of like the $1 Million title. And then I'm told, this is what you're gonna love, Sam. If this was 10 years ago, the whole locker room would have kicked your ass. And then I respond with, well, the whole locker room loves me. And then the response to that is, that's why the houses are half empty. So I guess I'm responsible. People like me. Right. I don't know. It was whatever. It is what it is.
That's
so
great.
Long story short, I don't get to wear the title on TV.
Well, I mean, look, it also doesn't help that there's like corporate logos on it, right? Like there's a Facebook logo and a Twitter logo. Like they wouldn't put that on TV, right? Or was it just because? Huh?
I don't even think they were looking at the side plates. They were easily been changed.
They were just looking at a guy who's a mark for himself. Right. And if you wear that belt, the houses will get even lower.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so long story short, I never wore the title on TV.
But I mean, it's the title that you've won the U.S. title, the Intercontinental title, the tag title, 150,000 times. That's the title you're most associated with still. The one that you made.
To me, it's the most real title there is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Out of the ones I want, listen, the IC title, great night, career night of my career, winning it, WrestleMania. I've told the story a million times.
Yeah.
Dad sliding in the ring, awesome. Storybook night, loved it. Right. U.S. title, great. The culmination of the whole year.
Amazing.
Awesome. Right. Tag team titles, first time, cool. Second time with Hawkins, cool. But that internet title, not the title is what I'm proud of. The movement.
Yes.
And not the Ryder revolution. Yeah, that. But like getting told, or hey, you're gonna be here, and I say no, I'm not. I'm gonna be here, and to bust my ass and prove myself for an entire calendar year, and proving people wrong. Yes, and I say this all the time. Proving people wrong is cool, but proving everyone right.
Right.
That's what felt so much better. Anyone who was supporting me in the back or online, proving them right. My family, my friends. That's what mattered. Not proving the haters and the doubters wrong. That's cool, I guess, but that's not what I cared about then. Certainly not what I care about now.
No, the locker room that all loved you.
Yeah. Sorry about the houses being half empty, boys. My bad.
It is. I mean, that is true. Like that title is symbolic of that era and what was accomplished. And really, I mean, people do have to give you credit. What was accomplished at a time when the internet was not nearly as powerful as it is today. Like it was just starting to become that super, super powerful tool. So like, yeah, 2011 is this banner year. It's incredible. Like that 2011 is the year that wasn't supposed to happen for you. Right. And it happened. So 2012 comes.
Woo!
Are you going like, what the hell? Like I didn't realize this was going up and down, up and down. I thought we hit a plateau, a nice little plateau in 2011. And it's only up from here because 2012, not good.
All right. So a couple of things happened. One, WWE, they have a YouTube channel, but it's like Raw and SmackDown clips. It's not a channel.
Sure.
There's nothing on it.
Sure.
So my show is, part of this, I don't know if it's a pitch or a presentation or, let's start our own channel with original content. We have this show that's proven to be successful.
Right.
And I didn't really want to do it, to be honest, because I had done it a whole year by myself. And the point wasn't to have a YouTube show. The point was to get noticed. The point was to get on TV. And I had done all that.
So you didn't even really want to do the show itself anymore. Like you were like, it's accomplished what it. Yeah.
That was the end of the story.
Right.
Loser, champion.
Right.
Done. That's
because you're right, because it doesn't make any sense. It's like if you did another season of The Sopranos after Tony was already dead, you're like, we did it.
over.
Yeah.
But I was convinced into doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say that they gave me nothing, because they did give me a camera to use and a laptop that didn't come with a box. So it wasn't.
But that's sick. You don't need to throw it out then. That's great.
Right.
That's easy. That's easy. It makes it easier.
But now it just wasn't fun anymore, because now it's like I needed it. There had to be approvals, right?
Right.
I was told there wouldn't be things cut. There were things cut.
Right.
There was deadlines I had to meet. So now when I'm home, instead of like, oh, if I get this up at midnight or get up at 2, now I need to get it up by this time. Has to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would be like, I get it from doing a podcast. It's like you and your buddies get together and do this podcast, and you have your own schedule that you make, and you got your release time that you put it out every week, but you decided all that. If all of a sudden some podcast network gobbles you guys up and goes like, no, this is when we need it. This is how you have to do it. This is the segment that it has to be. Now you're like, well, this wasn't when we started.
Right.
Yeah.
So not only is like what's the story of the show?
Right.
I don't know. And now, so there are a couple great episodes in the last 50.
Uh-huh.
A couple good ones. Like the last one I'm very proud of. There's one where I do a tour of New York City. There's a couple of cool ones. Most of them are not that good.
Right. Plus, like you said, I mean, you're spending literally all your off time doing them. So it's like when you don't have that fire to do them because the purpose isn't as clear as it used to be.
Right.
Like to spend all those hours doing a thing
and there's a couple times where I'd get a call from somebody from WWE. Hey, we need a new show right now. What do you mean a new show? I think people thought I would just take my phone and talk into it for 3 minutes.
Right.
That's not what I did.
Right.
So there's a couple out there. There's one where I think it's setting up which, hey, I'm not going to complain. It's challenging for a WrestleMania match or something like that. So if I'm going to get a WrestleMania match, great, I'll put it up.
Sure.
But then there was one I put up. They said no to it. And we need a new one by, whatever, the end of today. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. We need it. So I filmed it. I said, hey, this is episode, I've told this story before. It was going to be 75.
Oh, yeah.
WWE didn't approve it. So I have to talk for 3 minutes. So here you go. And I walk off. It's the set for the next 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And they didn't put that one up either.
No, I wouldn't have either. I think you put it up, right? Didn't you just put it up
I just put it up.
Yeah. Not too long ago. Yeah, I saw that. And I was like, yeah, I could see why they wouldn't put that up.
Yeah. But what sucked, so when I'm doing the show the first time, I see my career going up and up and up and up and up. So it's motivating me. It's great.
Yes.
This time I see it going down and down and down and down and down and down.
You're like, I got to stop doing this because to do the same thing over and over as these are the results, we got to stop. I can't do this. We got to stop.
Listen, we talk about how earlier where I said, no, we're not going to do it on WWE.com.
Yeah.
Now here are some times on the flip side where I should have said something and didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and I think, too, around this time is when you're not really a kid anymore either. You're starting to get into those late 20s, approaching 30. Is it difficult, to shift people's perspective from seeing you as a kid? When you come in as a kid and an edgehead, right? You're 22, and you're just following Edge around dressed up in his tights. And now you want to be like, no, I'm an adult. I've accomplished a lot here. And, I want to get to that next level. Is it difficult for the people that saw you coming in to kind of make that transition?
Well, let me answer that in 2 ways. One, when this is all going down, it's 2012, I'm 26. Okay. So when everything's going down with the Kane pushing me off the stage,
right?
Eve kicking me in the nuts. At the time, I was just so I don't want to use young as an excuse, but maybe naive, thinking, okay, well, Kane's doing all this. I'll just fight him at Backlash. Okay.
Right.
I didn't think,
you go back to that WrestleMania moment where you're like, maybe next year it'll be a triple threat.
Right. So I'm just thinking, okay, well, Eve kicks me out, so I'll do, something will happen.
Because there's still those singular moments are still big spots.
Right. So I'm not like, oh my God, I'm getting kicked in the balls. To me, I'm thinking oh my God, WrestleMania. I'm the last guy in there. So I'm thinking like that. So, but when all the stuff wasn't turning around, where it wasn't leading to something, that's when I should have knocked on Vince's door and said hey, what's going on here?
Right.
I at the time, because I still had some ground to stand on, still selling merch, still popular with people, still working my ass off, busting my ass. I should have said something. I didn't. That's on me. So I see all the time online, you were buried, blah, 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 blah. Listen, if anyone buried anybody, I buried myself because I didn't knock on that door and ask why. I wasn't, whether I was scared enough or not mad enough, I didn't do it. So I blame me, nobody else.
And maybe that's what they were waiting for anyway. Maybe it was all just, if you wanted this bad. Let's see. Who knows?
I will never be one of those people who says, this person held me down, or this person talked behind my back, or this person buried me. Listen, I had the opportunity to stand up for myself, and I didn't.
Yeah.
That's on me.
Do you have
So that's it.
Yeah.
When it comes to the age thing, like you were just mentioning.
Yes.
I even think to this year, when I'm 35?
Right.
Turn 35? I think people, not just me, I think people looked at whoever got in the business in WWE at that age. I think people still, to your question, still viewed me as this 21, 22-year-old kid.
Right.
But I'm not.
You're the woo-woo
I'm a
kid.
35-year-old man.
Right.
You know?
Right.
When I started in the locker room, different era, I understand, back in my day, all that BS,
Mm-hmm.
different era. There's guys like, JBL, Hardcore Holly, Taker, Ben White, different era. You're not allowed. You're walking in from developmental. You're not allowed in the locker room. You need to earn your spot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You need to earn respect, then go ask if you're allowed in.
Right.
It's not like that now, and that's fine. I'm not saying one way is better than the other.
Yeah.
Right? But when I started, okay, there's all these big, jacked up guys. I was probably one of the tiniest guys on the roster. Now I'm one of the biggest.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm still viewed as like this little kid.
Right.
When I'm a 35-year-old man. And yes, do I have the toy show? Yes. But I think also the whole world has changed in that regard. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's on up, down.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think,
there's
geek
no
culture.
Way I could go into that 2007 locker room with my Hasbro ring that I bought at a toy shop.
Yeah.
As opposed to last year, Hawkins and I legit went to some toy store, brought it in. It was just like in the locker room. And I would say like 95% of the boys like, oh my God, I had that. That's so cool. Where'd you get that? I remember getting this for my birthday or Christmas. Different era.
Here's when you know it's a different era. When it was like official to the world that it's a different era. When you guys get Ambrose on the podcast talking about toy memories, I'm like, that says everything.
Different era, dude.
It's a
and I'm not
different
saying
era.
one's better than the other.
Right.
But listen, like when this generation of guys are all my age, around my age. When we started, Hawkins and I were so fortunate to get, so lucky to get signed so early. These guys didn't grow up with Hasbro figures. We were playing with their Hasbro figures.
Yeah.
They didn't grow up with wrestling buddies and the bed sheets.
I think
they didn't grow up with that.
I think that's a big difference. That like the generation that we are is that first generation that saw wrestlers as superheroes. You had He-Man and Ninja Turtles and WWF, and that was what you grew up with.
Yeah, Saturday morning,
Yes.
Superstars,
Yes.
ice cream bars, you name it, I bought it. My generation had it, or at least knew what it was.
Right.
So I don't blame the generation before for not getting it.
Right.
Listen, I don't think what I do or what I collect is like quote unquote normal. I can see if someone walks into my toy room and sees thousands of action figures on display, I can understand why people don't get it. I get that, right? But I think it's more accepted now, not just in WWE, but in pop culture, in life, in society. You go to these Comic-Cons, San Diego Comic-Cons, it's madness. People like scalp tickets to get in. People wait in a line to get a raffle ticket to maybe buy a piece of merchandise.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I've watched people, they sit there and they camp out so they can sit in a hall all day long so they can watch a movie trailer. That, by the way, will be on YouTube after the con.
Like right after.
Right, like that day. Yeah.
But you want to watch it.
But you got to be, and you got to be a part of it. You got to be a part of it.
I am one of those people, my thing just happens to be the toys, the collectibles.
Yeah.
I'm not into video games. To me, I grew out of it like N64. It got too hard for me.
Right.
It became too time consuming for me. But I don't know why. I just never grew out of the toys.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm the same way.
Right. And did I go through that time period where I was embarrassed? Sure.
Right.
Sure. I would go to Toys R Us and get gift receipts because I didn't want the cashier thinking I was buying these toys.
That would be the worst. When the cashier, that was like, especially when you guys were right around the same age, like it was like a girl that was right around the same age as you, and she was like, "Do you want a gift receipt?" And you're like, "Yeah, of course I do. Of course I want a gift receipt." Like, what am I going to say? No, I don't want a gift receipt. These are for me.
Always. Always gift receipt.
Definitely want a gift receipt. I'm not going to bring these home and open them up right away. And no, that's ridiculous.
Like I remember like when I was in college, like all my figures were my bedroom looked normal, but if you opened up my closet doors, they were all in there like on display.
Hidden. Dude, I remember being in Syracuse.
Now it's like not my whole house. I'm not hiding it, but it's like anywhere you go, you peek in one room, you'll see something. Peek in another, you'll see something.
Yeah. Now
you'll see
Now it's everywhere. Like, I'm explaining to my kids what the difference is between their toys and dad's toys. Like, it's a whole thing. But I was the same way. I remember in Syracuse, I was in college, like, right when the Classic Superstars started. And the Classic Tag Teams came out. The Rockers and the Legion of Doom. And I was like, oh, because that first series of Classic Tag Teams was amazing. Rockers, Heart Foundation, Legion of Doom. And I was on the Wrestling Figs message boards. And
I still am.
I mean, I lurked there, but I'm sure Not Sam is still there. But somebody said that they had seen them at the Toys R Us in Syracuse. So I had to go like in super stealth mode. Luckily, I had a car, so I could just sneak out of my dorm. Didn't tell anybody where I was going. Found them, freaking out. And then, number one, I had to, like you really want to talk to somebody, like, look what I found. And look at people who have no idea what you're talking about. But I had to sneak back upstairs into my dorm room, like kind of like hiding the Toys R Us bag as I went, because I didn't want to have to explain to people, like, no, I just got out of here to buy these wrestling toys. But look, I got them. These are so hard to find. They're brand new.
Right. And the wrestling figures for me is because, we're on the same age. So, of course, early 90s, all my friends loved it. Warrior, Hogan, Macho King, right?
Yeah.
That wrestling buddy era. Then nobody watched it.
Right.
So it's just me. So like me playing with these figures was like my friends, really. Me creating these figure feds and these storylines. That's how I really kept, because nobody wanted to watch it with me. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't go to my buddy's house and watch it. Of course, I'd watch it myself or with my brothers, but nobody else watched it. So me playing with these figures was how I kept like the hobby alive and the love alive. And then, of course, Attitude Era. I call them 98ers. They're in for a year or two. And then they're out again.
Yeah. But you guys weren't watching in your house era.
Right. So then they're out again. And then that's when, I kept with the figures, but that's when I got big into like the backyard wrestling. I found like the 10, 15 kids in my area. And then that's how we, expressed our love for wrestling, which, hey, kids, don't try this at home, by the way.
Right.
But like, there was no one else, people would make fun of me if I wore a shirt to school, wrestling shirt to school. Because of course, if I went to Raw Monday, I'm wearing that shirt Tuesday, baby.
Yeah.
I am.
It was one thing when it was cool and you could wear like the Suck It shirt or the NWO shirt. Yeah. But like I was the kid in middle school that wore, that like that red Shawn Michaels shirt where he's just kind of poking out of the heart. Like, when you're like a kid in 8th grade or 7th grade, whatever it was, and people are just starting to kind of like hang out with girls and stuff, and I'm wearing my red Shawn Michaels coming out of the heart t-shirt. It's like, but that's my favorite t-shirt. Of course I'm going to wear it.
I think it's like 9th or 10th grade. I'll never forget. I'm wearing like a Too Cool shirt where they're like all doing like the silhouette pose. And like, oh man, but I didn't care really. Like I wasn't the coolest kid in school. I definitely wouldn't consider myself a cool kid. Right. But I didn't really care.
No, me neither. So you had this great presence of mind moment. You talked about the Intercontinental title win at WrestleMania, and it really is this just wild series of events. You're not supposed to be in the match. You tell Road Dogg that you want to hear your music. You've never heard your music played. He goes to bat for you. You not only end up in the match, but you end up winning it. Like, I remember sitting there in Dallas, whoever I was with, they were like, who do you think's going to win? I was like, I could see them giving it to Stardust, maybe, probably The Miz. They're definitely not going to give it to Ryder. But that was the thing, right? And it was like,
that's it.
Right.
There we go.
Right. And that moment, that's what made it the feel-good moment. But how did you have the presence of mind to know, if I let my dad, who's not even supposed to be here, by the way, he just snuck into the ring. If I let my dad put this cowboy hat on my head right now, it's going to ruin everything. Like, you had the presence of mind to just
hey, I know my dad, right? And so people still to this day think it's like storyline or part of the show. It was not.
Right.
Like, I'm winning. I don't even know where my dad is. I know I'm sure he's somewhere, right?
Right.
So I'm doing the woo to the hard cam, and at that point Ziggler's like, "Come on in," waving him over. My dad's like, "Okay," and then it's not till he's in the ring looking up at me. I'm like, "What the?"
Yeah.
I go down there, I hug him, and he puts that goddamn cowboy hat in my head. And I rip it right off. It just instinct. Like, come on.
Yeah, you should have pulled.
Talk about it, Sam. I'm serious now, Sam.
You should have pulled a Shawn Michaels, like, that old WrestleMania 12 story where get out of my ring. Like, you should
God. Listen, super cool. I've said this before on other shows. Like, so Rob Schamberger, you know who he is. He painted a nice painting of me hugging my dad at Mania. It's got the IC title in it. It's got the hat in it. So when I got released, I knew it was coming because I got a text saying, Matt, please call me. We need to talk. I certainly didn't think a raise was coming. I saw Heath go, Hawkins, Gallows, and I said, what could it be? So I knew what was about to go down, and I just I had that painting hanging up, and I just stood in front of it. I smiled. I took the call. Whatever I said, and that was it. Like, it is what it is. For me, I needed this to happen. And
I can see that.
My contract was going to be up in August. I had not re-signed yet. I was offered a new deal, like almost everyone else was, like before last WrestleMania.
Right.
In negotiations up until this past WrestleMania, obviously, and then I didn't know what I wanted to do. Do I want to stay? Yes. Like, I've had this up and down career, and I'm so grateful for it. Right. Like, my dream was to be in WWE. That's all I ever wanted to do. And I was there, I got signed when I was 20.
Right.
So, like, I lived the dream. Like, did I main event WrestleMania? Did I win the world title? No, but I had some badass memories, some things I'm very proud of. Got some action figures out of it. Very proud and happy of my career there,
Plus the moments, too. Like, I feel like those moments, I think about that a lot, that those moments are the things that can never go away. Like, regardless of what happens now, it's like, I feel like for you, honestly, even though you weren't actually in the ring at the time, We Want Ryder being chanted to The Rock is a moment. I feel like the Intercontinental title win, I feel like that last tag title win at WrestleMania with Hawkins, like, that's one of those moments that you're like, if this were to end today, and I never wrestle again, I never step foot in a ring, I'm not even a public person after this, like, that happened. I did that.
Sure. And you see these titles that I have hanging on the wall and stuff like that. And like, did I hold the IC title for a day or the US title for 2 weeks or whatever? Yeah, but like you said, every time I won one of those titles, it was a moment.
Right.
I didn't win it at Backlash. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it was always something special to me. So it's super cool. But when I got released, I knew, okay, because I've been, dealing with this. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I stay? Do I go? For over a year. And it was just eating me alive, just every day thinking about it. Or, when I'm at TV, like having to talk to like Mark Cardona, like, what are we doing here? Like, it was just eating me away. You know what I'm saying? Just the anxiety. So when that call was made and the decision was made for me, oh my God, you hear the people get relieved. I was so relieved.
Right.
So relieved. Like, that decision was made. Now, all right, ProWrestlingTees.com, Matt Cardona, let's start that baby up, which, by the way, I already had set up before I was texted the call because I kind of knew something was going down.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And I feel, too, like what you guys set up with the podcast, how entrepreneurial, take a shot. Take a shot. You guys were, like, you kind of already understood how this business can work, even in a time like now when you can't wrestle. Like, you had already started becoming that sort of independent business person through the podcast. Because it's not like, the income from the podcast just comes in through ads. Like, it's a multifaceted.
I say crumbs make crumb cake, baby.
Yeah.
The ad revenue for our podcast, very low. Because listen, you need to listen to podcasts.
Right.
Listen to wrestling podcasts.
Right.
And then want to listen to a wrestling figure podcast.
Right.
So the it's like a niche of a niche of a niche, right? But then, like, we take that core audience and then we hey, we have this YouTube channel here. Right. Or hey, we have this merch here. We have these toys over here. We have these live shows over here. And it just crumbs make crumb cake, and we hustle. And by hustle, I don't mean like slime ball, like, con people out of money. We work our effing asses off.
Right.
Especially now because we have more time, and we want to provide the most content, the best content, and we want people to feel like, hey, you know what? Like, I can collect figures. I can like figures. I can like title belts or chalk line jackets and be cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to, like, ruin that stigma of, like, that it's not cool to collect toys or to collect whatever you like. And I think with the podcast, we've been doing that. Because, there's little kids who come to the shows or kids who buy our merch or listen to the shows, but it's mostly like people our age, a little younger, a little older.
Yeah, and you've also, it's also the community that you've built. Like, I know that I knew Zombie Sailor before your podcast. I knew toys before your podcast, but, like,
did he pay you for that plug?
I'll probably edit it out. But just throw the old Silver Balls beep over that plug. But there are a whole bunch of other people that I bought Hasbros and stuff from people that you guys have talked about on the podcast, because I'm like, oh, like I knew about that, but I didn't know about this, and I knew about, and it like brings everything together. Do you think that you guys are one of the big reasons why this Hasbro market has like blown
100%.
up? Yeah.
100%. Because I think there are a lot of people who listen to our podcasts who maybe collected at one time, right? But don't anymore. Like, let me give this thing a shot.
Yeah.
And they listen to it. Like, you know what, man? Like, let me get that 1991 Hogan. Whether maybe they got it for their birthday and it's their favorite gift ever. And I'm just using Hogan. It could be anybody, right?
Right.
Or maybe they didn't get it. Maybe that Christmas morning, they waited and they opened that gift. They thought it was going to be Hogan. It wasn't Hogan.
Yeah.
Now they can recreate that. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll get Texas Tornado, the Nasty. You know what? Screw it. Let me get them all.
Yeah.
You know?
And plus, the way people have been collector shamed, I won't mention any names on the show before. They know, like, I need to have a perfect Ludwig Borga. Like, I can't, I gotta make sure.
So I think, we're just spreading awareness, and I love that there are other podcasts popping up. There were other podcasts before us. I love it because why wouldn't you want other people talking about this subject? Because guess what? I hope that, this guy, Mark Bushy, he's creating his own wrestling figure podcast. I buy some stuff from him. I hope it becomes bigger than ours. Because guess what? When people listen to him and they love it so much, well, who else am I going to listen to? Oh, listen to the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand why anybody would hate on somebody else for creating we're one community. So anyone who's trying to, like, cause dissension, listen, this is a wrestling figure community. If someone's causing dissension in a wrestling figure community, you really need to reevaluate your life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, we all need to come together on this.
Right.
We
We need to come together. We can't, like...
Yeah, we need to support each other here.
Right.
Because otherwise, like, it's not like we're going to be able to go into the world and they're going to understand us.
Right. So, like, we're all this community, and, and I'm very proud of what we've accomplished with the podcast. And, we want to make it as big as possible. And, this is something we presented to WWE, obviously as Zack and Kurt, whatever it was going to be called. At the time, they said no. They said we're not doing any podcasts. So a little birdie told us, hey, just go ahead and do it. So it became Matt and Brian's Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. And that was the first time I'd really gone by Matt Cardona.
Right.
So if it wasn't for the podcast, I wouldn't be so comfortable, wrestling on the indies as Matt Cardona. I'd probably be like the Ice Z-Man or something like that.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things too. If you're not the one in charge of this podcast, like if you have a boss, even if it's WWE, if it's Wondery, if it's Spotify, whoever the boss is, doesn't matter. Like, are they going to sit there and be like, "Hey, we don't want you guys spending 45 minutes just listing the things you bought this week." Meanwhile, they don't realize that the audience is listening because they want to hear what you bought this week. You know what I mean?
What? It's not the list of what we bought. It's the conversation in between. Item to item.
Right.
There's no way if this is a WWE show, I'd be able to produce a shirt that I don't know if you know what this means.
HARD?
But do you know who this is?
Who's that?
Referee Dick Worley. We're talking about a hard to get Dick Worley action figure.
Of course. It's very HARD to get. Yeah, it's impossible. Right. Yeah.
Mid on card figure. It's not loose. It's mid on card, so it's hard.
Right. Dick is hard. Yeah.
It's Dick Worley.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So you put two together. We're talking about a very hard to get rare action figure of Dick Worley.
Of course. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
you go to the gym wearing it. That's cool.
That's right. Because and the newest thing we're doing, I think you'll pop for this, Sam. I know you're definitely not a Patreon member, but something we've been doing on our Patreon. Now, you talk about nerdy. This is nerdy.
Mm-hmm.
We have fantasy figure feds, and we don't actually sit there and play with the figures, but we talk about them like we are, right? And we have Brian has his guys, I have my guys, but it got so popular in the Patreon that we're doing it as a spin-off show to the Major Wrestling Podcast every week.
So it's going to be like its own
show I think it's starting in August. Every week it'll be like my show versus his show.
And it's a figure fed, which means it's not just about like, oh, well, this wrestler is my favorite, so he's going to do well. If it's a good figure, like what figures that are more fun to play with or that you just like Roddy Piper won the championship in my Hasbro fed when I was a kid, not because I was the biggest Roddy Piper fan in the world, but because that figure looked good with the belt on him.
Right.
So he became the champion because it looked good with the kilt and everything. Yeah.
You can't just, let's say we were doing an LJN figure fed. We can't just draft, well, LJN is not a good example. Let's say Mattel.
Right.
You can't just draft Undertaker. It has to be Series 45 Undertaker. It has to be very specific.
And if you say let's say you are doing LJN, if you said Ravishing Rick Rude, he won this match with the Rude Awakening, are you going how do you do that?
How do you do that? His hands are tucked into his tights. Impossible.
Yeah, he couldn't have done that. That's ridiculous. It completely loses the integrity of what we're doing here.
Exactly right.
I love that. I do love that, actually.
Coming soon.
Yeah. No, I love it because I'm going to be sitting there being like, yeah, that is a good figure. Yeah, that figure does that move good. No jumper in my Hasbro Fed ever won a title, ever.
I was not a big jumper guy.
No, I hated him. Hated him.
Oh.
Hated him. Well, look, Matt Cardona, the Michael Jordan of wrestling figure collecting.
I'm glad you got that out there, Sam.
Yeah. I think it's important. If you guys want to support the former Zack Ryder, now Matt Cardona, always ready. But it's funny that you say you're always ready because I was listening to Pat Buck's podcast, and Hawkins said that you look always ready, but your cardio is terrible. You get blown up because you don't do anything in the ring when you're not wrestling.
Did Pat Buck? Who's it? Hawkins said that?
Yeah, Hawkins said that on Pat Buck's show. Yeah.
I mean, hey, listen, I'll be honest. Since I got released, I've only been in the ring once. Big props to Flatbacks, Tyler Breeze, and Sean Spears. I worked out there. I gave Chelsea the broski boot. I got to change all those names.
Yeah, you do have to. Yeah.
But listen, I was in there. It was like riding a bike, baby.
Yeah. He said that when you were off TV for a year, you just wouldn't do anything. If you work in live events, you work in live events. But if you weren't, you didn't do anything in the ring.
Well, I'm not going to let Hawkins spread this propaganda. Hawkins is just jealous that, I work a lot harder than Hawkins. In the gym.
You do?
That's all.
I see.
He has his own wrestling school. He cheats.
That's true.
I told him he has created a pro up in New York. We should do the sister school here, create a bro.
That's good. I like that.
We're doing a spinoff of the podcast, do a spinoff of the school.
Yeah, and then you have competitions about whose students do better.
Right.
Yeah.
Big Super Show.
Mania
Week,
Yeah, bros and pros.
Right. It's create a bro. It's still create a pro, but create a bro, maybe some spray paint, bro.
Right.
But still create a pro.
It's like Wolfpack.
Right.
Yeah. I get it. Well, you can, of course, if you're a wrestling figure or memorabilia fan in general, if you're just a collector, it's so funny. If you collect any wrestling stuff and you listen to the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, you just start going yeah, I really should get that. I literally, last time I listened to your show, you were talking about wrestling figures, and I was like, I got to go check on my Simpsons collection. I gotta make sure that I'm complete there, and and I went through the old box and started eBaying stuff and everything. So it just gets that, if you got that collector bug, it just activates it every single time.
Sam, scratching that figure itch, baby.
That's what I was doing. By the way, Remember you sent me that Ludwig Borga after the Caroline show?
Yeah. I
never let it breathe. I put it right in the case, baby. Right in the case. Still got it MOC.
Fine.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Hasbro episode yet? No, there's no way you did. You didn't watch, Sam.
The Hasbro episode? I watched some of it. I definitely didn't watch 4.5 hours of it.
You're complaining it's too long? That's how much content is involved.
No, I like that it's 4.5 hours, actually. I like that you guys would just put up the 4.5 hour show. I think that's cool. But I'm not.
Who else is doing that?
No, but that's why I like it. I like that you're just no, not part 1, part 2,
the whole thing, baby.
4.5 hours. Invest. That's. But that's what I'm saying. That's what you were saying. Even if you don't have 1 million people a week downloading your podcast, that creates a loyalty. You have the type of fans that'll sit there and watch a 4.5 hour YouTube show,
right?
About you guys talking about Hasbro. That everybody wants that. That's all you could. That's what you want.
That figure, I mean, that YouTube video is going to evergreen because it's just talking about this topic that will live on forever. It's not going to be out of date, unless I find something else because I'm Michael Jordan of Wrestling Figure Collecting.
Right.
But I don't think there's anything in my sites that I know about anytime soon.
I definitely got through at least Series 2. I watched that part of it. And then I started scanning through to see if I could find my part. But I couldn't find it because it's just too long. The timeline, and it's 4.5 hours in it. Right. But I'll get through it. I'll find it.
Well, thank you for sending in your part.
I'll send in my part for anything I could do. I'm helping.
In canon, you're a heel.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, major wrestling figure podcast, of course. ProWrestlingTees.com / what are the two of them? There's
ProWrestlingTees.com / Matt Cardona.
Yes.
ProWrestlingTees.com / Major WF Pod.
Yes.
On Instagram and Twitter, Zack Ryder is dead, baby. I got rid of all those handles right away, so it's at the Matt Cardona. And then Twitter and Instagram for the podcast at Major WF Pod. YouTube.com / Major WF Pod. You can see the history of the Hasbro episode. You can see me doing a fig bath, cleaning some LJNs.
Oh, yeah.
Up in there.
Oh, yeah. Nice, smooth fig bath. I do like the YouTube channel. The YouTube thing, I think you guys do a real good job on that YouTube channel.
Did you watch me taking a fig bath?
I mean, I can't. You get real sensual with the fig bath, and it starts to creep me out. But it is good for tips. Like, it is good for technique. Because I don't know if you know this, a lot of my figs, not in the best condition. Some of them need a fig bath. So it's like,
well, Hasbro, you can't fig bath the Hasbro because you'll ruin the click.
Right.
I want to see. We should do a YouTube video of your Hasbros and see which actions do the click. Like, don't work. It just do the click.
Oh, I'll do it. That would be dangerous for me. Even the ones I've replaced, I can't guarantee all the click.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, of course. When you do the move and yeah. I mean, like, yeah,
the click.
My Ultimate Warrior jumper is in two pieces, like the legs here, the torso here. It's disgusting.
Unbelievable.
I appreciate your time,
nice
man. This was
Maybe
fun.
One day you'll come on our pod.
Anytime you want.
We use Zoom over there, though.
Well, I like the recordings better on Skype. And plus, it's just the two of us. If it were more than two, we do Zoom.
I don't have any stock in Zoom or anything. I'm just. I think because Skype is free and you got to pay for Zoom, right, Sam? That's the.
Well, I like free. My preference is free. You guys are like, Sam always collects his figures 6 months behind. But if you want to get them first, there's usually a premium, and I'm not big into paying those premiums.
You're in the Elite Squad now. Get it for free.
That's
maybe you could. That's what you can do. Right. That could be your legacy in the Elite Squad is to get some free figures because we couldn't do it.
Oh,
we got a couple here and there, but you, as Elite Squad members, you guys should get every Elite.
You know what? One of the few.
Write it down.
I will. I'm gonna start. And by the way, every free figure that I get, I will be right on social media, and I will be bragging about all of it. Because it's kind of. I mean, if you think I'm a heel now.
please beg about it.
Wait till I just tell Corporate Steve to just send me all of them, just to watch everybody just lather up. Oh, you. All right, man. I appreciate the time, buddy.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.